So just real quick, I wanted to mention that that I did some taping. Some There was a little bit of metal showing in a couple of different places, and I didn't notice it when I took it apart. But you know, the rubber that was covering it was pretty thin. Kind of reminded me of the valve gasket, like a rubberized coating. And then there was what I think was some mesh. I don't think it was the wires or anything. I think it was just a little bit of the mesh that was really doing the job, and then that coating had rubbed off in a couple of places. And it's possible that I did it because it seemed to be pretty soft. So I put a strip of tape over the spots, and then I just retaped the whole thing. This is the cable that goes to the injector rail. So I had actually fed it behind that breather tube already when I noticed it, so I pulled it back out and retaped it. And so now I'm gonna try to push it back into place. And I'm just taking my time with this final assembly, and I'm waiting to the last minute to plug that hose in because I don't remember what goes where exactly, and I want to be able to go in and out if I can. So I basically am just planning to loosely set things in place and not snap them in, just to make sure in case something needs to come back off. As far as the torquing went on this project, I didn't get it really on tape except a little bit at the beginning, but basically the snap-on style, not style, the snap-on brand torque wrench was the ticket. And I'll just use this extension. Imagine that this is the torque wrench, and so we would torque it down to 7, and the digital reader would tell you what mark you actually hit. So for the most part, they were all about 7.1. And then I went around and checked them all again, and here and there was some that were a bit low. And on that recheck, the final torque was something about like 7.6, 7.5 range is what those kind of all ended up in. So then we went on a beer run, waited our 30 minutes, and when we came back, we torqued them all down to a final quarter turn. And what was interesting was the digital reader told us what our final torque spec was after that 90-degree turn. And for the most part, they all topped off and equalized at 10.1 Newton meters. So I wonder if maybe they could say tighten it to 7 Newton meters, wait 30 minutes, and then retighten to 10 Newton meters. That might be a different way to do it. A good question for a mechanic maybe. But that's how it worked out. It made me feel good that they were all, super close for torque pressure. Made me feel good that I went and gave them all a 90-degree turn and nothing broke. I did put that little bit of oil top and bottom of the gasket to make sure that the rubber seated properly without tearing and rolling, and feel really good about it. I think that this will get you at least 60,000 miles, if not 80. At some point it probably seep a little and gradually get worse. But I would say the next time that this gets done, the cover itself should be replaced. But it would have on the order of 250,000 miles on it at that point, and it would just be a good idea at that point. But for right now, I'm sure this is good enough. Pressure is nice and equal and tight all around, and I'm excited to have the new air O-rings gaskets because I think that'll improve my air, and I think this will be really good. So for the moment, just methodically putting things back, roughing them in place, figuring out what has to go on first before something else goes on. I only have a small handful of bolts, so it shouldn't be too complicated, and plugs plug in nice and easy. So I might just fast forward a little bit, and if something comes up worth mentioning, I'll point it out. So at this point, I kind of skipped ahead and buttoned everything up to a certain point. As far as any potential hangups with some final assembly here, nothing major, just was struggling to remember how these all went through all this. And I actually went back to my old videos to just see some pictures of what that looked like. So it certainly helps to take pictures and video. I do it all the time. Other than that, everything came together pretty good. I put some anti seize on the threads of the spark plugs, and then I put some contact grease on the tips, and then I put that same grease on the outer edge of the fat part of the coils, just so that they would kind of grease themselves when they slide in. So I greased these, I greased the threads, and I greased the contacts. Other than that, it's just been kind of going through and making sure everything's connected. It would be nice to have a lot of this not connected so that I could start the car and make sure everything works, but there's too many sensors that need to be plugged in. So in reality, everything needs to be plugged in and before I do anything. So I might as well just do a full final assembly. So, but at this point, all I really need to do is, plug that in, get the cowl put on, and that sensor back there needs to be plugged in. And then I think there's another one down here that needs to be plugged into the airbox. And I could probably stop with the airbox and leave this little bit off. I am going to pull out and clean these solenoids with the bracket that they're attached to where this hose is currently. I'm going to pull that hose out and disconnect that and clean that. So inching closer. All right, I have the Vano solenoids that go into the front of the engine. I believe they go into the head. They're super dirty, so even just cleaning around them, around the head on the front, was difficult. So I actually cleaned these both with brake cleaner to kind of get the gunky stuff, and I ran the brake cleaner in and out of it also, but then I also used the mass airflow. There was that seemed to be a recommendation, so I just figured I would. Seems like it's more gentle to everything. And I'm gonna clean these, but I'm gonna clean these the way I'd seen on the internet, and getting the inner shaft to move up and down. I don't really know what this does, to be honest. I could read up on it, but it seemed like a good idea to clean these so that I don't have any issues here. I don't have black and red, I have white and green, so I'm going to use green as the negative. I don't think it really matters because it's 12 volt instead of alternating current, but in reality that probably doesn't matter either. But in any case, so the green is negative at the moment, and I'm going to clean it a little. And then I'm going to make contact with the positive to get it to articulate a little bit, get it to loosen up. And I'll be honest, I can feel that current in my fingers, metallic taste on my tongue. Oh yeah, whole bunch of stuff came out. Do it again here. I might want to do the other one again because I didn't notice that much stuff coming out. Metallic-y tongue taste. Whoa! All right, what not to do. As to why that happened, all I can say is the electricity on the battery ignited what was saturated in the towel. So, I did hear a warning that this is flammable, so be careful. I believe I fried the rubber of this one, so I'm going to, I do have another one, so I will just make sure this still works. Maybe the lesson here is to do the cleaning elsewhere. Okay. So that still works. That's good. Okay, so that works pretty good still. Thank God. No harm, no foul. We'll try this one again, just to make sure, because I wanted to clean this one again anyways. That off. This seems pretty good. You notice I'm working away from it now. Lesson learned there. I don't want to hit that again. That one's good. Go back to this one. one's good. This one seems like it doesn't have as much power to it when I hook it up. And I guess I lost track of which one this is. I actually think, well, I guess I don't know. Yeah, seems fine. Let those dry for a minute, and that should be that. I'll go ahead and put those in, and be one more part that'll be working well. Alright, I'm setting the Valvetronic motor. I do have a couple of lights on this dash at the moment, so hopefully it's just the usual stuff. So supposedly you're supposed to press the start button. That time I just held it for 30 seconds, but I don't think it makes a difference. That's normal. That's not, but I think driving around it'll clear up. That usually clears up once the battery's been disconnected and driven around. Okay, here goes nothing. I think it's just all the stuff burning off, all the cleaners and everything. That's what I think. Think this will carry.